The first rain starts to fall. Your ath window with your coffee and ya watch it begin. The slow tap on thaw leaves, the dark line spreading across porch boards. And in the same minute, your yard goes still. The cardinal that was on the feeder is gone. The chickies that were moving through the maple, gone. The robin that was crossing the lawn 10 seconds ago has vanished. The yard empties so fast, you'd think they were never there at all. Where did they go? Most people will tell you the birds simply took shelter somewhere. Somewhere in the trees, somewhere out of the rain. But Thaton's War hides what's actually happening, which is precise, deliberate, and far stranger than almost anyone who feeds birds will ever know. Every bird in your yard right now is in a specific place. A place it chose. A place it has chosen beer. A place you have walked past 100 times without ever noticing tonight. We're going to find them. Welcome to Nose by Birds. Subscribe before. You'll leave because what you're about to learn will permanently change your way you see your yard during the next storm. Every fact in this video is grounded in real ornithologic lesh. And stay until the end, because last thing we cover is something that has been happening in your yard for years. Once you understand what it is, you will never look out a rainy window the same way again. Let's begin. Birds don't all go to the same spot when their rain starts. Each species has its own architecture of shelter, chosen for body size, for predator profile, for how it feeds. And the decision was not made in this moment. It was made weeks ago. Thenarthurn cardinal goes to Densever greens, spruce, juniper, arborvite, eastern red cedar. He pushes deep into the green needles 4 to 8 feet off the ground and tucks against the trunk on fleaward side. The side facing away from the wind. His bright red color oddly becomes camouflage in the deep fur green shadow. The black kappa chickadee disappears completely. Cheekies go into cavities. Old woodpecker holes, gaps in tree bark, knot holes, sometimus nest boxes. The cavity is usually just barely big enough for the bird to fit, and there is a reason it has tobe that small. In a tightly fitted cavity, the bird's own body heat warms to trapped air within minutes. Total heat loss drops by 60 to 90%. A 12-gi bird in an oversized cavity might still freeze. And one that fits like a glove dot, it survives. The titmouse, the white-breasted nuthatch, the downy woodpecker, all cavity birds. They use the same hall of ton year after year. The blue jay does something different. Too big for a cavity. The jay finds a thick branch close to the trunk. Deep inside the canopy, where the layered leaves above act as a series of stacked umbrellas. He doesn't move. His feet won't let him fall. And we'll come back to that. The Carolina wren, the genus name Troglotta tesselatli, means cave dweller. Vanishes cinto, brush piles, fallen logs, root tangles, ivy. Anywhere small and hidden, the mourning dove sometimes sits through it on a flat branch, water sheeting off her back. The house sparrows gastrate to the soffits and eaves, of your own house. And the messy corner of your yard you've been meaning to clean up. The brush pile, the leaf pile, thwilled hedge in a storm, that is the most valuable real estate on the property. A few can find one of them out in the open during the rain. A sparrow on a fence, a dove on a wire. Look closely. The pastor is not random. It is one of the most precisely engineered survival positions in the natural world. Badoop bright head pulled back into thes holders. Bill pointed directly into falling rain. Feathers slicked tight to the body. This was first formally documented in 1986 by an ornithologist named Rosemary Hume. It is now called the rain posture, and it shows up across hundreds of species from sparrows to heron to seabirds. 3 things are happening at once. The head pulled back conserves heat, less surface area exposed to the cold rain. The bill pointed into the rain minimizes the cross-section the water hits. The wave bow of a ship cuts a wave and thaws slick feathers. That one is counterintuitive. When a bird is cold and dry, it fluffs. The fluffing traps air, and trapped air is what insulates the bird, the same way a down jacket works. But in heavy rain, fluffing would be a death sentence. Puffed up feathers fill with water instead of air. The insulation collapses. The bird starts losing heat fast. So in the rain, the bird does the opposite. It pulls the feathers tight against the body, creating a shingled water-heading surface. The water rolls off rather than soaking in. If you see asmal birds sitting in the rain looking compressed, sleek, almost pointed ineth wind, it is not suffering, it is performing. Most of your yard goes alint in the rain. But two species do something different. And what they do says a lot about how alive your yard actually is during a storm. The American robin doesn't hide. Robins keep forging through light rain. And the moment a heavier shower passes, they explode on a lawn, not wandering, but hunting with purpose. Here is why. When soil saturates, oxygen can no longer diffuse through it efficiently. Earthworms breathe through their skin and they need oxygen. So the moment the soil floods, the worms come up to the surface, not to escape drowning, but to breathe. A robin knows this. A robin has waited for it. An adult robin can pull 20 earthworms an hour out of wet ground across a single day. A robin in your yard can eat 14 feet of worms measured end to end. The hummingbirds are the other surprise. A hummingbird should not be able to fly in rain. Each raindrop is a significant fraction of its body weight, yet they keep going. In a 2012 study from the Proceedings of the Royal Society B, researchers Ortega, Jimenez, and Dudley filmed Anna's hummingbird Chevirg in heavy artificial rain. The birds adjusted. They pitched their bodies almost horizontal. They beat their wings faster, not slower. They eased the water as they flew. They doth this for a reason. Rain refills flowers with nectar. The competition is sheltering. So when the rest of the yard is hiding, the hummingbird at your feeder is feeding through weather backgrounds every other small bird in any neighborhood. Two species, two completely different adaptations, same storm. Here's the part that when most people first hear it takes a second to believe. In the most severe weather, heavy storms, prolonged cold ice, birds that are normally territorial, that fight each other off the feeder all summer that defend specific branches like they yown them. These same birds will polento a single cavity together to share body heat. It's called cavity stacking. Eastern bluebirds are the most famous sex example. Researchers have documented as many as 9 bluebirds, sometimes more than a dozen, squeezed into a single nest box during winter storms. Birds that, during the breeding season, would not perch within 30 feet of each other, packed wing to wing inside a 6 inches wooden box. Black-capped chickens do it, Carolina wrens do it, downy woodpecks do it. The pygmy nuthatch, a small western relative of the species in your yard, takes it to a degree that almost defies belief. Ornithologists have documented up to 100 pygmy nuthatches inside a single tree cavity on a freezing night. Their combined body heat raises the interior of the cavity by asmac, as 40 degrees Fahrenheit above the outside air. A foundational experiment from 1949 by ornithologist S. Charles Gandish measured 18 degrees outside a roost box and 29 degrees inside. 11 just from being there together. For asmal bird with a few hours of fat, inth bank 11 is the difference between morning and not. And here's the part that should land for anyone who watches their yard. The chickens that fight over the feeder all summer, that scold each other and chase each other through maple, sleep pressed against each other in a single hollow during the worst nights of winter. The territorial allels are suspended. The math becco mesemplar. Stay separate. Freeze, sharath cavity, survive. You look at the empty yard during a storm. What's actually happening somewhere in a tree above you is one of the most unlikely tresses in the natural world. This is where it changes. Researchers led by Jesper Madsen at the University of Copenhagen published a long-term study in 2023 in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. They tracked individual birds across the course of their lives and found something remarkable. The same individual bird returned to the same exact wintering location year after year. Not the same neighborhood thesum spot. And the precision increased with age. The older the bird, the tighter the radius. By the end of its life, a bird might come back to within a few meters of where it has spent every winter before. Other studies show thesum pattern in shorebirds and warblers and in cavity using species like bluebirds, chicoons, tites, and woodpeckers. Strong site fidelity, aftento, a single roost cavity returned to year after year. Now, combine that with what we already know about how birds map your yard. How they learn to dinsoinder side of the spruce. The gap behind the gutter, the leeward face of Thefence. The ivy crook on the north city of the maple. A real claim emerges from science. The chickadee that sheltered in your yard during the last thunderstorm is very likely the Sama chickadee that will shelter there during next one in the same. Cavity and thesum posture facing the same wind into same wind. It is a bird that knows your yard better than you do, and it has been using these same hidden pockets longer than you have noticed they were hidden. You walk past those spots all the time. Most people will live and die in their houses without ever once seeing theity their chickies use, the aloe root tangle, their wren disappercinto, or the deep junction in the spruce where their cardinal goes silent. The map is invisible to you. To them, it is the most familiar thing in the world. Suv, next time the rain begins and there it goes still, pay attention to what just happened. The cardinal dinty sapper. He's in the spruce 4 feet from the trunk on the side, facing away from the wind exactly where he was last time and the time before that. The chickadee isn't gone. She's inside a cavity that fits her like a glove. Body temperature dropping, feathers tight, sharing the hollow tonight with Anna Thurbird, she would have chased away Sturday. The robin isn't waiting for the rain to end. She's already moving toward the lawn, knowing exactly what worms are about to do. Every one of them. Every single bird is in a place they chose for reasons researchers have finally begun to understand in a yard. They know far more intimately than you do. The empty yard isn't empty. In versus. You've just been looking at the wrong layer. Tell me in the comments, have you ever found a bird sheltering somewhere strange in your yard during a storm? Under the porch, inside a flower pot, deep in a hedge. I want to hear about it. I read everyone. If this changed how you see the yard, share it with someone who watches the birds outside their window. Nature is stalking. Learn to listen. I'll see Ween the next.